Hey, loves, it's Ashley and Jelena, your favorite host on the East Coast, and welcome to BlckBold&Beautiful, the podcast for the culture. I am here tonight with Miss Lashakia Moore. Good evening. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you for joining me tonight. I know your schedule is really busy, so thank you for penciling me in for a couple of minutes.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Could you go ahead and just give a brief introduction of yourself to the listeners and viewers?
So, my name is Lashakia Moore. I am a wife. I'm a mother. I'm also an educator, a caretaker, um, a friend, a sister. So many things. But I guess my that's who I am.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I wanted to just ask you some questions, of course, related to um, your recent accomplishment, which was making history. So, congratulations there.
Thank
Um,
you.
but definitely just want to get some information, on the journey there, what that looked like. So, what would you say inspired you to pursue a career in education, and how did you navigate your journey from starting, from where you started from to where you are now?
So I became it when I was in high school. I was fortunate to go to a high school that had different opportunities for students to be a part of. And so though we had Future Educators of America, I wasn't a part of Future Educators of America. I was going to school to be in the medical field. I had taken advantage of all of those opportunities because so many people had told me that you don't want to go into education, though I knew I was an educator at heart. I was not one of those people who were like, oh, I knew I was going to be a teacher at, 2 years old. That I did not know that. But I had gone to school in high school. I was really pursuing medicine. I had been accepted, in Howard University. I'm like, I'm going to Howard University. I'm going to school for medicine because I had been told, don't go into education. There's no money there.
Right.
And but what happened is I saw my brother really struggling. And I remember being in a high school and his school administrators coming to our home and having a conference with my parents and telling them that, he wasn't putting forth his best effort and that he was struggling in all these areas. And I didn't understand it completely. I didn't understand why he was struggling so much in school. I didn't understand how he was so good in one thing but really struggling academically. And I knew that there had to be a better way. I knew that there was something that was missing in his education, and I wanted to really find out what that was. And so I pursued education really from watching my brother struggle in school, but being so brilliant and so great with his hands and so many other things, but those things not really being acknowledged in his life. And so I had a change of plans. I ended up not going to school the first semester after graduation. I didn't start school until January because I had just made this abrupt decision that I wasn't going to Washington, D.C. anymore. I was going to go to school at Bethune-Cookman University and pursue education. And so I did that. I went to Bethune-Cookman, Hill Wildcats. I became an educator, started off in the field as a teacher, served as a teacher, also served as an academic coach, a teaching and learning specialist, also served as a principal, onward to director of teaching and learning, assistant superintendent, and now I'm currently serving as the superintendent of schools for Flagler County.
Yes. Congratulations on that again. Um, I know I tell you all the time, but I'm extremely proud of you, and you're definitely my role model and somebody that I look up to continuously. So congratulations there.
Thank
Um,
you.
and it is just truly a blessing to watch you maneuver through life and just kind of know the backstory, and then to see you now, mind blowing, and I love it. And I'm not gonna get emotional, but you know.
Well, I
um,
will tell you, I never thought, I mean, I am not one of those people that I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna be this." There were some positions that I haven't yet held yet that
yeah,
I've always said, "Oh, it will be cool to be in this role," and,
right.
um, but I've not been the person that was chasing this position. I
Hmm.
really just felt like I wanted to serve well where I was, and because I focused on just serving in the place that I was at in that moment, I think it just allowed for me to have other opportunities to serve in a higher and greater capacity.
Right, right. Now, as a true trailblazer, can you share some pivotal moments or challenges that you face while climbing the professional ladder in the educational system?
I think like I stated, I wasn't necessary. I didn't take the traditional route. When you heard my path, I never served as an assistant principal. I went from being essentially an academic coach to being a principal, which is not something that is common.
Right.
But my role as the academic coach really gave me an opportunity to lead and be trained in so many different capacities. But I will tell you, every position that I've held outside of teacher, every position that I've held, I had to be nudged to really throw myself out there and apply for the position. When I went for principal, I was literally joking and said, "Man, I should just apply for the position." And I had loved ones that said, "Yeah, you should." You
Hmm.
know, and I was like, "No, heck no. I've never been an assistant principal." I thought about what people were going to say. I was like,
Right.
they're gonna be like, "Well, who is she, and where does she think she's going to just jump over this huge position as assistant principal?" And I had people that just continue to encourage me and say, "Listen, you've had a lot of opportunities to lead as an academic coach. You've had a lot of experiences. You should really just apply." And so every position that I've been in, I've never felt like, "Oh, girl, yes, this is you. You're ready for this." I've had to really be encouraged by people who know me and love me and have watched me serve to say, "Hey, I think you should consider this." And I'm very um my spiritual life is extremely important to me, and so I've had an opportunity to pray about those positions and then seek if God wants me to go in that direction, and um here I am today.
Yeah. How do you balance the roles of being a woman of God, a mother, a wife, with the demands of your position as superintendent?
Yeah, that this position has been very tough on me because me coming into this role was not conventional. I mean, as soon as I came into the role, we experienced some um, big, big ticket issues that I had to quickly jump in and begin to navigate. And so I will tell you that I often feel like I'm not doing something well.
Hmm.
You know, I try to give my best in every area that I am in. But sometimes I don't feel like I do it well. Today I was sitting, and Sundays I usually sit and get us ready for the week. And so I sit with my youngest child as well as my nephew, and we usually get prepared. But during the week, I will tell you, I struggle and I feel like I'm not being the best parent to them and helping them like get their schoolwork done, which sounds crazy being an educator, but I feel like I'm behind at times. And I just continue to work at it and commit to showing up and being better each and every day. But some people, I tell people all the time, they think that I have it all together, and I don't. I'm just really a hot mess in the hands of a great God that really just, um, just looks out for me over and over again.
What advice do you have for moms or parents that may also have demanding jobs, whether in or outside of education, who may struggle, like you said, sometimes they feel think sometimes we get, I won't even say mommy guilt, just parent guilt, like we're like dropping the ball, but we're literally giving our all. Like what advice do you have for those people?
Give yourself some grace. We're not going to be perfect. There are always going to be things that need to be done. I've not yet met someone who feels like I've arrived in every area of my life and I'm just excelling in it all. So give yourself some grace would be the first thing of advice that I would say. The second thing is really get a schedule and try to stick to what the schedule is, especially when it comes to your family. And so whatever that area is, if you feel like, for me, it's like staying on top of homework, that's the area that I'm working on. And so there's some things that I've committed to in this new year because it was a new semester of school for the kids. So there are some things that I'm committed to doing. And so get yourself a get yourself some grace, get a schedule, and then also take advantage of help that is out there and available to you. Be it that help that's for you, or it's help for your children, or it's help for whatever area that you feel like you're struggling in. Utilize the help that is available to us, and that's something that I also can do better.
Now, when it comes to mental health, we know that's pretty crucial. And then you having, once again, such a demanding role, how do you maintain your mental health and being while also fulfilling, like, your day to day responsibilities with all that comes with your position?
Um, One, my faith is something that is huge. My faith really helps me to get through day to day. And so really lean in into whatever your that spiritual or that higher power is for you. And for me, that is my faith. I enjoy listening to podcasts. I enjoy reading books. I enjoy listening to my Bible through my Bible app, praying, sitting still in the presence of God and really just asking God for help. And so that is something that is so, so crucial to me. But there are times that I feel like I'm like at my wits' end. And I will tell you today, I'm, helping with homework and doing all those things. And I probably didn't operate in the most patience that I could have operated in. And so I often have to take a moment and just take a breath and refocus myself, and then move forward from there. Oftentimes also, sometimes you need a moment, right? You need a moment just to yourself, be it to sit in your car. I'm a sit in the car girl, so to sit in the car before going in, get my mind right. Or even taking a few hours to just separate yourself from it all, to just refuel yourself. And I think that is what's so important. You talked a little bit about mom or parent guilt, but really understanding that to be the best mom, to be the best wife, to be the best employee, all of those things, you got to be the best you. And so taking time to really put the oxygen mask on myself first. When we think about being on a plane, they tell you put it on you first. And so I have to remind myself of that because I do. I feel guilty sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, girl, suck it up, get yourself together, let's go. And that works for a moment. But sometimes you have to just say, okay, I need a moment. And not only do I need a moment, I deserve to be able to take a moment. And it's okay for me to do that. And I think it's important for us to show that and show that to, the people who look at us and are who are watching us, be it our children, be it our friends, be it community members, our coworkers or whatever, to really show them that it's okay to need a moment. It's okay to take a moment. You don't have to always have it together. Because again, like I said, you may think I have it together, but I'm really just a hot mess in the hands of a great God who helps me to be able to get it done. And helps me to be able to get it done oftentimes well, but it's not in my might. It's always in the power of his might within me.
Absolutely, I love that. I know that definitely in these last few years, I have definitely gotten a lot deeper and a lot closer with God. And I know a lot of the things that I have gone through and that I go through, I definitely would not be able to go through without Him. Um, and so I definitely understand that. And just being able to grab, a couple of scriptures and grab some worship songs and just find something that works for me to just take a moment and breathe and just not be a mom, not be a wife, not be anything for anybody, but just Ashley for Ashley.
Yeah.
Um, those those moments are necessary. Definitely, they are
You
definitely.
know, one of the scriptures that I lean on often, it says, in all things give praise and honor to God.
Mhm.
And that is something that I've resolved to, that I've said that God, I'm committed that in everything, in all things, in all seasons, in all walks, in all situations, I'm going to give praise and honor to God. And so oftentimes when I'm struggling, oftentimes when I'm in a hard place, of course, when I'm in a good place, but when I'm in my hardest places, that scripture comes back to my remembrance because it's my theme that
Yeah,
I'm going to give praise and honor to God. And so when I commit myself to that, it helps me to refocus and find the good and
yeah,
see the good. The scriptures also talks about that he causes all things to work together for my good. And
mhm,
I've found that, I've seen that. And I tell people all the time, people who know me, I mean, you know me,
mhm,
you know, I've lived through some things, losing my parents at a young age, really was a place in my life that I could have lost it all. And
right,
the reality of it is that when my mom passed, I had a friend who gave me a CD, because that's what we used back then,
right,
who gave me a CD of a song called that was by Brenda Waters, and the song is Victory. And let me tell you, I was in college. I would lay in my bed and I would reach over and I would press play on this CD and I would listen to it on repeat. And it was what helped me get up out of bed
yes,
because I didn't know what to do.
yeah,
I didn't know. I called on my mom for pretty much everything. Pray for me. What do you think about this? All those things. And then shortly after that, my dad got sick,
yeah,
you know, and every every high in my life, every time um I was in the mountaintop, I was simultaneously in the valley.
yeah,
And so I've had to say, I'm going to commit myself in that in all things, I'm going to give praise to God because let me tell you, I think about you can ask me about every event, every time in my life that I should have been celebrating,
mhm,
that in that time I can trace you back to how I was celebrating, but I was also in the valley, and in
yeah,
the valley often mourning. And the day I got married, well, before I got married, 2 days before, no, Thursday before the Saturday I was going to get married, I got a call from my sister saying that my father wasn't going to make it. He wasn't going to make it, not just physically to my wedding,
mhm,
but that his life, he would not have like he's not gonna likely live to the wedding day. This is in 2 days. And
Yeah.
I remember getting off of work and just like driving and just crying and being so sad. And what people don't know is that I walked down the aisle on a Saturday, but I really got married on a Friday,
Hmm.
not dressed in a wedding gown and all of that, but in the hospital of my father's room.
Hmm.
Because and when you go back and look at some of the pictures, you could see my face. It should have been the happiest day of my life. But
Right.
in that happiest day, I was thinking, is my dad still alive? When
Right.
I get out of here, will he still be there? My uncle had to fill in and come and walk me down the aisle. And instead of going away on a honeymoon, I spent my honeymoon time in a hospital with my father, who did make it through the wedding day, but was in a hard, hard place. And
Yeah.
so in so many seasons of my life, I've been in a great place, but I've been simultaneously in a battle as well. And so I have so many times that I could have lost it all. I could
Yeah.
have lost it all, and I felt like I was close to losing it all, and most people wouldn't think that. To know me and to know my personality and my character, most people wouldn't think that. But let me tell you, Ashley, I have had to battle times to not just for my life, but for my sanity, for
Yeah.
my peace,
Yeah.
and for joy. And so that's how I've come to this theme in life, that in all things I am going to praise God. In all things I'm going to honor him. In all things I'm going to trust him, because I've had to live that.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, that was definitely, I know that was a tough time, I think, for a lot of us, especially, me, Deborah, Quita, Tam, because most of our time was spent at your house with your parents. And for most of our time, they thought like, oh no, that's not my mom, that's my auntie. And that's not my dad, that's my uncle. But we spent so much time over there, and I think at that time and being that age, I just felt like people in our family didn't die.
Mm-mm.
Like other people
Mm-mm.
die, but my family members, like, they live forever.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
So I think
Mm-mm.
like losing your mom and then losing your dad was like, whoa, tough
Mhm.
hit. And it's just like, if it was that tough for us, I can only imagine. These are these are just
Yeah.
our uncle and auntie, but these are your
Mhm.
biological parents. And to
Yeah.
just continue, and I think I did not understand the magnitude of still having to go on until I
Mm.
lost my mom. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know how they
Mm.
did this, because I'm just want to just RIP to me, because what am I supposed to do?
Mhm.
I mean, you want me to get up, be an adult, be a mom, be a wife, and an employee, and you want me to do all of this
At the
with
same time?
make it make sense? Like, that math doesn't math.
Mhm.
Um, and I had a young lady, so I recently joined a Bible study group, and I already told you that Bible study group has been turning me every which way but loose,
Mm.
and I appreciate it. So, um, we were talking about a worship list, and I sent them the worship list that I have held on to since my mom passed. It was what got me through.
Mhm.
And they was like, oh, because I played them one song, and they were like, oh, well, how'd you come up with this? And I said, well, you know what? My mom passed, and I said for 2 weeks I just could only go to work, come home, lay on the couch, and do that all over again. That's it. Like, my husband would literally dang near have to force feed me to eat, because I just could not even. I
Mhm.
couldn't. And so I said these songs helped me get through
Mhm.
some of the toughest times. And I think I'm glad that I've learned that it's okay to feel, it's okay to allow yourself to be broken. It's okay.
Yeah.
But definitely grabbing onto those favorite scriptures and those favorite songs have helped me through a great deal. And having a great community to understand
Mhm.
the things that I've been through. Because prior to losing my mom, I was already experienced darkness, and
Yeah.
so to be on that path in that journey of healing and trying to go back towards light, and to be hit with that, it's just like, Lord, I don't know. Like, I just feel
Mhm.
like we backpedaling a little bit. All that work seems
Yeah.
like it's in vain. But I was at work on Friday maybe, and I had just I have like a prayer journal that I fill out, and then I do like a Bible plan, and then I have like the SOAP method that I do. So scripture, observation, application, prayer, and I do that every day. That's what I do. I do that. I do my journal. I do my plan. I say my prayer, and that's what my morning consists of when I'm working, getting things done. And I forgot what happened. It was something that I probably was stressing about. It was something that just probably popped up in my head. And in walking to the front office, I just had my hands up and I just said, Lord, I thank you. In the midst of that, one of my coworkers was coming out. He was like, um, what did he say? He was like, Are you like, he was like, are you like giving God praise? And I said, Absolutely. And he was like, Why? I said, Because why not? And he just looked at me. I said, You'll be amazed at all that he's done for me. I said, And guess what? Me standing here talking to you
Mhm.
is a blessing. I said, Because every day I have to fight to be here. And I
Yeah.
was almost not here. I
Yeah.
was almost gone. Like,
Yeah.
I was almost no more. But he didn't allow that to be so. So listen, I ain't caught up on it. But listen, I love Jesus. I am glad for all that he's done for me. And I'm glad that all he's done for you as well. Um, and just to go back, when it comes to losing parents, um I know mentally it takes a toll on you. For those who may be dealing with, that currently, or maybe just kind of merging over into that, what advice do you have for them for those days that are coming, the days that are ahead, when it comes to healing?
I think you said it best when you said, allow yourself to feel. Um, when after I lost my dad, I mean, now both of my parents are gone, I had reached out to a loved one, um, an aunt, and this person likely to this day does not even know this, but I had reached out to this person and I kind of share how I was feeling. And their response to me was like, um, "You gotta get yourself out. You gotta come out of that. Um, your father would not want you to feel that way, and neither neither does God." And it was just I can't even tell you all the words right now, but let me tell you what I received in that moment. In that moment, I received, "Don't message me about this.
Hmm.
You need to get over it.
Hmm.
Life need to go on."
Right.
And it hurt me terribly
Hmm.
because, I just I was
You
so
can understand
confused.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I would say embrace your feelings, but make sure you have people around you that can support you. Because sometimes in feeling our feelings, sometimes those feelings take us so far that
Hmm.
it's hard for us to get ourselves back.
Yeah.
And so feel what you're feeling, but feel that in the comfort of people who love you,
Yeah.
is what I would say. And you know, it just becomes different. You redefine your normal, but it's not something you ever get over. In 20 plus years that my mother and 20 years that my father have been deceased, I still I don't know if the term would be yearn, but I still have a desire for
Hmm.
them to be here. I often laugh and think, oh, how it would be if they were here.
Yeah.
I look at my kids and now my grandkids and say, oh my goodness, my daddy would have, listen, you would be spoiled rotten if my daddy
Right.
was here, type of thing. I say to my husband sometime, I'm like, listen, this marriage probably wouldn't have worked if my daddy was still alive. Because one thing about it, my daddy's gonna talk junk, but he's coming
He
through
is.
for me.
Yeah.
And so I laugh and joke with him about that, but I still 20 plus years have passed, but I still think about them, and I still think about what things would be like if they were here, or oh, I wish that they could experience or they could see this. I think about how my parents would be to see me in the position that I'm in. Man,
Mhm.
you couldn't tell my parents anything when I was going to college.
Right, right,
You definitely couldn't tell my daddy anything once I became a teacher. And
right.
so I imagine often like how they would respond. You know what another thing is? I look at my kids and I'm like, man, I wish they had an opportunity to have the love and experience of having their grandparents. I mean, you
Yeah,
and I, our family, we laugh and joke all the time about stories from our grandmother, and my kids won't have that from my
yeah,
parents. They don't they not won't have it. They don't have it, nor will they have it from my parents. And so I'm like, man, they would have my Kennedy would have loved how funny my dad was,
yeah.
and so my advice is, it's a new normal. It becomes a new normal, but feel your feelings, but be sure to feel those feelings surrounded by people who love you,
Right.
because the reality we know is that when we are when we are down and we are alone, that is when the enemy begins to attack us the most.
Yeah.
And we need people to stand in the gap for us. We need people to surround us. We need people to fight for us. We need people. The scripture talks about people that come along and literally help you to hold your hands up, right?
Yes.
We need people like that. And so feel your feelings, but feel them while being surrounded by people who love you, and don't believe for any moment that now you're all by yourself, you're alone.
Mhm.
uh I experienced that, and I don't know that I ever shared this with anybody, but when my dad passed away, I felt abandoned. I
Mhm.
felt not just abandoned, I felt like I didn't have any
Anybody.
belonging.
Mhm.
Like, who do I belong to? That's what
Yeah.
it was like. Who do I belong to? My parents are gone. Like, who I don't belong to anybody.
Mhm.
And um, it was hard. And I didn't come when after my dad passed. It was a couple years before I went to a family, like a big family event.
Mhm.
I just felt like I didn't belong. I felt
Yeah.
just out here. But that is what the enemy wanted me to think. The
Mhm.
enemy wanted me to think that I was out here spiraling some island, disconnected with no bridge. But the reality of it, though I belong to my parents, I've always belonged to God.
Right.
I've always belonged to him. And let me tell you, I really did. When my mom passed, my mom signed do not resuscitate. And I didn't understand that thing. I was
Mhm.
like, what do you mean? She
Mhm.
gave up. I was
Yeah.
upset.
Mhm.
And the Lord had to really help me to understand what that meant. That
Yeah.
that wasn't her giving up. That wasn't her choosing not to fight. That wasn't her choosing not to be where we were. And so let me tell you, we can come back and have a whole conversation around grief
Yeah.
and stages of grief. But I when I think back to all of those times and all of those emotions and all the things that I've gone through, I was in the most isolated time of my life.
Yeah.
And, people probably looked at me and thought, she's strong, she got it together.
Mhm.
But I was struggling.
Yeah.
I was struggling. But it was in that struggle that created me to be who I am. And
Right.
it is what helped me to understand what the word of God said about me, because
Mhm.
I felt abandoned, because I felt like I did not belong to anybody. I suffered in silence.
Yeah.
I suffered in isolation. And I mean, I had a husband.
Mhm.
But I suffered literally in silence and in isolation. But God used it to strengthen me. He used it to pour into me. He used it to remind me that I belong to him. Um, and he used it, I believe, to prepare me for every other thing in my life that I would have to walk through.
Mhm.
Um, he's caused all things to work together for my good.
Yeah. I tell people that and I still have my dad, but I'm like, I feel like the worst thing that could have happened to me has happened, and I made it through that. So I'm like, listen, anything else, it's small. It's nothing big, it's small. Because I made it through it. It wasn't easy, but I made it through it. And when you were speaking about, writing that aunt, I had a moment when I called. It's funny now, but at the moment it wasn't funny. And so I called my dad because I just could not get it together at all. I'm like, I miss my mama. I don't know what to do. I don't know who to call. I don't know. So I'm just let me call my dad. And my dad said to me, well, little mama, just get your Bible and say a prayer and just try to go take a nap. I'm thinking, sir, what? What are we talking about? That's the best advice you got. That's the best. That's all you got. Just grab a Bible, say a prayer, and take a nap. And when I get up sad again, what am I supposed to do? But I know he didn't mean it like in an ill manner. I'm like, listen, like, what am I? My only parent that's left is telling me to read a Bible, say a prayer, and go take a nap. Because after all of that, then what?
And you know what though? I will say, it seems when you're in that place, it sounds and seems like what? But when we really lean into um being believers, I think it would have to be a little bit more specific to, what scriptures are there about grief and about um l- loneliness and the feelings that I'm feeling. Like, what
Yeah.
scriptures are there about that so that you don't just tell me to read
No,
read the
my God
Bible, you tell
didn't
me to
listen.
lead me, right? Now, there are some people who will tell you that someone has said that to them and they've opened up their Bible and right where they opened up was a scripture of encouragement, right? But not everybody is in that place.
In the Bible when they just say go and be well, no
Yes.
instructions. That's how I felt. What do you mean? What do you mean? I understand you telling me to go be well, but and then how am I supposed to do that exactly?
Yeah. But
The
it's
brother
funny
didn't
you
have
said
not
that.
one scripture.
Yeah, it's funny you said that, but honestly, because I thought that I was by myself, that's really what I did. Like, I started to learn what the Bible says about grief. I started to learn what the Bible said about anxiety, about fear, about peace, healing, all these things. And um so I took your daddy advice. I went and read the Bible. I said me a prayer, and then sometimes I just went on to sleep. Hey,
Listen, but it's moments like that that definitely keep me going where I can just stop, laugh. Not just at him, at my mom, or even, I think about Austin. I tell my coworkers, I was like, listen, my aunt and my uncle, that's where I was. When my mom, I was there. I said, but my uncle, you would think he was the meanest person, but he was the most comical person ever. And I said, him and my mom would get into it all the time. And they're like, why? I said, I had a homework pass and she would not let me use it. He was pissed off because she ripped
period.
it. And he did my homework because he was like, oh, well, you ripped it. I tell you what, you give me the homework and I'll do it. And they're like, well, did you? I said, yes, I turned it in. He did it because he just did not understand why she would rip my homework pass up that I her. Like he real deal was really upset with her.
Man,
He was hard
probably
down there,
probably ready to fight. If fighting
ready to
was
fight. Like
if
get
fighting
out
was
type man. Yeah,
acceptable behavior,
yeah.
that probably would have been what it was. But they're gonna argue about this
Oh
because
yeah. Because he
you
was not he wasn't understanding none of what she was talking about. he wasn't understanding. And at the end of the day, I still passed that grade. He did that homework for me. But I was just like, it's stuff like that. Or like when I
Or I
had
can see him telling you, "And if your teacher has something to say about me
you
doing your
tell him to
homework,
call me.
you tell him to call me."
And he was dead serious. Because guess what? He was coming.
He was coming
And
to the
that's what I
school.
need you to know. He was coming. But that, or like, when we would go outside and I tell Sean, I was like, I just can't believe that Auntie Irene beat us in this race because we want to race her so bad. And we like, we thinking like, oh, you're not gonna beat us. And she's like giggling, running like Fred Flintstone, and then whip everybody. Like we try to catch up, and she's just like giggling and gone. I'm like that, but those moments and her being on a pogo stick jumping and
Mm,
stuff like that is what is like, it's good. It's stuff to look back, and that has me crying laughing because
yeah. So
I think
many
that we
good
have the
memories.
best memories
Yeah,
ever.
so many good memories, so many funny stories that, when I think about, my childhood and I think about different things that I still to this day laugh like it
Yeah,
just happened. I mean,
yeah,
you already know how I feel about smart water. Like I'm gonna
right.
laugh every time I see a smart water because,
Every
it's just
time,
it's a something that's in my core
right?
now. But I will tell you that when my mom passed, again, we only experienced like older people passing. Well, we had a cousin that passed.
Yeah,
Our cousin Edison, he passed, and that was kind of,
yeah.
like what?
But that was
But
not even like that was not
that was an
even.
accident.
It was an accident. Like, yeah,
Yeah, and so what got me about my mom passing, it was I had to really understand, like, let me just tell you how I felt it. Judge my words if you would you. But my mom was good. To me, when I think about a person, I felt like my mom was just a good person, right?
yes,
She was just that person that was going to be accepting of you. Like she gonna be a safe place for you.
hmm
Like my dad was good too, but my dad, he gonna talk, he gonna have all kind of stuff to say, but he coming through for you.
right,
But my mom, no, like I don't she talked, but I feel like there was so much good and so much healing and so much acceptance in her silence that it was just like,
yeah,
come on, like it's all
yeah,
right, just come on, whatever type
yeah,
of thing. And so that's what I didn't understand. I'm like, good people? Like my
yeah,
mom was good. Like
yeah,
why my mom gotta die early from cancer? Like
yeah,
that I had God and I had to work through that.
hmm
We had to work through that because that's what I felt. That's what I felt. I felt like she was good.
yeah,
Not that I wanted to be picking out people that I felt like was bad that could have taken
right,
her place,
hmm
but I didn't understand that. Like how is this the way?
right.
How is it?
I was the
And
same way.
I really, really
Yeah,
struggle with that. And that's why the song helped me because the
yeah,
song really talked about, essentially, I don't know how God's gonna do it, but he's gonna do it, and I'm gonna have victory.
hmm
And it helped me to realize, like, his ways are not my ways,
hmm
and I don't know,
hmm
but I'm going to have victory. I'm
yeah,
going to be okay. And that song reminded me of that, and it has reminded me over the years of it. And my friend who shared that song with me, he is still one of my best friends and someone that is often just like encouraging me to realize, like, you may not know how this is going to work out, but God's going to pull it together for you.
yeah, yeah. I think it's definitely important to be, that person for people. Um, I think while 2020 was a hard year for me, it made me appreciate things better. It made me look at things better. And then losing my mom, and I know sometimes people are like, "What?" I'm like, but it created a new version of Ashley.
Yeah.
Like, it made me tap into things I didn't even know I had access to. Um, it While it definitely affected my journey of healing, it definitely added to it. But there was a young lady I was in class last semester. I was in a counseling and interviewing class, and um, while I goof off a lot, and you know this, I have fun with life, and I'm just not that serious in most cases because I think life is already tough. But in my serious moments, I'm a very observant person, and I will sit back and I will watch and not say anything, but I pick up on people easy. And this young lady, I could just tell that she was struggling. Like it was just, you could tell it. And I don't know if it was everybody that could tell it, but every time she came in, it was just always a heaviness. And I'm like, man, I don't really know how to approach her because I don't know her. She don't know me. Um, I don't want a person to think I'm overstepping. And so there was a class that she came and she left. And that day that I saw her prior to her leaving, God had put it on my heart to say something to her. And I didn't. And so I felt really bad because I'm like, Lord, I hope nothing happens and she doesn't come back to class because now I'm not being obedient. Well, she ended up coming back to class and I said, I'm so happy to see you. And she's like looking kind of weird. I was like, listen, I have something for you. And instantly she thought it was like a physical gift. And I was like, I have something for you. I said, but I can't give it to you right now, but I'll have it for you before the end of class. And I just wrote her a note. And the note said, like, I don't know you, you don't know me, but I just feel like you're going through a lot. Um, and I just want you to know that whatever it is, like it's going to be okay. God has already fixed it. God is already working it out. Just giving her encouraging words. I sent her some of my favorite scriptures, which I wear. Of course, Jeremiah 29:11. I sent her, what is my other scripture? I have here Matthew, gosh, Matthew, what is it? 7 and 7. That's it. So I sent her some scriptures, sent her a playlist, and I was just like, I don't know you, but I love you. Um, and I just was telling her, her worth and stuff like that. And so she ended up leaving out of class. So instantly, I'm like, oh great, I done pissed her off because she didn't come back to class for a while. And so that happened to be like our last day for interviews, like our final grade for interviews. And I went outside and she's out in the hallway, like bawling her little life out. And I'm like, oh, great. Like, all right, Ashley, you should have just probably waited to the end of class. But she was outside, she was crying, I gave her a hug and I was just kind of just trying to speak life into her because what I've learned is I want to be the person I wish I had in 2020 prior to me going to that dark place. That's my goal. That's my why. That's who I want to be. And so she was just like, you don't know how much I need to hear that. And without going into detail about what she was going through, she just said that she was going through some things. It was what she needed. I gave her a hug. She was just like, so I told the teacher, I was like, I'm sorry. I don't know if she's gonna be able to do her interview, but it wasn't intentional. I just was trying to be obedient. She's in the hallway crying, but I think she's gonna be okay. Maybe she'll be able to do her interview, but the teacher allowed her to, get an extension. But I think it's important to be obedient. And I think sometimes we have to realize that although we are going through it, it's not always for us. It's not always for us. Sometimes it's what we have to go through to help somebody else. Um, so yeah, I just listen. God has a sense of humor. I think his is bigger than mine, but he definitely has a sense of humor.
He
Definitely.
definitely has a sense of humor, and sometimes you don't see it, right? You don't see it in that moment, but when you reflect back on those hard seasons of your life, for me, I'm always able to find good. I'm always able to find, um, you know, where the scripture says there's a balm in Gilead. I'm always able to find the ointment, the healing balm that he has placed in that moment
Yeah,
for my good.
yeah,
And I can always trace it back and see the good. In the moment, I may not be able to, but when I take a moment and reflect, I always can find the good in it. And there's been a lot of hard times, a lot of hard spaces. Um, but he causes all things to work together for good.
yeah,
And I mean, I know we haven't talked a lot about, education and all of that. But I will tell you, you know, last year probably was one of the hardest years of my life. I'm a caretaker for my sister, and the year before that as well, 2022, the second half of 2022, all of 2023. um Sometimes things happen and you have an opportunity to learn and heal and address um things in your mind
Mental battles.
while watching other people go through things,
Mm-hmm.
and I had gone to this season that on Tuesdays I was praying, and somewhere, God just told me to begin to pray about that. But one of the things he often told me to pray about was like depression and anxiety and mental health and all of that, because I mean, it was something that he just put so heavily on my mind. And though I can't say that I've ever been in a place of depression. I've been in some places that I've just, I think been very sad. I've been in places of anxiety, and that's not my normal characteristics. I'm not one that usually is very down, or I'm not one that usually is anxious. But the last year and a half, I began to feel these feelings and emotions that I had not felt before, and they
Mm-hmm.
were trying to overcome me.
Yeah.
They were trying to overcome me, and I really had to lean in and address and really work on my mental space
Mm.
in order to keep myself in a good place.
Yeah.
Listen, I talk to myself. Do you talk to yourself? I talk to myself. I be like,
I
I be
talk
giving
to
myself,
myself and I answer myself. I have
listen,
full conversation.
because I have to give myself a pep talk sometimes. I
And I do.
girl, come on, girl, get yourself. You got
Just
this. Let's
yesterday,
go.
I had to say, listen, girl, you better lay down. Because guess where you're gonna end up? The hospital. So
You
you
know
better
what
take a
I
nap.
say to myself too? I was like, girl, you do hard things. Like, it's okay. It's gonna
Mm-hmm.
be all right. You got this. All right.
Yeah.
See, one
Mhm.
foot in front of the other. I do. I give myself a pep talk.
And I do. And that's okay. And guess what? In Tap of the Brown words, that's your business.
Mm, That's my
That's your
business.
business. Hmm.
That's my business.
That's your
It's funny because my dad used to say that all the time. He was like, don't trust anybody who say they don't talk to yourself. He's like, they do talk to themselves. Don't trust anybody who say they don't. And I didn't understand it back then. He was like, but you talk to yourself. You'd be like, oh, I think I should go this way. You know what? I am gonna go this way.
yeah.
He's like, that's talking to yourself, and that's answering yourself. But I
Listen.
I believe in giving myself a good pep talk.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Have
Listen,
to.
nothing was funnier than I was over at your parents' house and running through the house because you guys have long hallways. And I think maybe Trey was cooking sausages. And I'm like running down the hallway full speed. I'll run all the way in your parents' room, run all the way out. Run all the way in, run all the way in. What did he say? He said, Ashley, stop running down that hallway. I said, okay. So I said, okay, what did I do? Take off again.
Yes.
And I ran into that hot boiling water.
Hmm.
Skin stuck to my shirt, everything. I don't know if he was mad, sad. I think he was mad with me. He was mad with the water. He was mad with me. He was just upset. And I think once again, my mom came over trying to get understanding. He now mad with her because you doing too much talking. We need to figure out how we about to get her what she need to be. We can answer the questions later, but I think about all of them so often, and just like when you said that you saw the people with when you had the smart order in the meeting, you just could not stop laughing.
Hmm.
I have times in my office where I am crying. They're like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "You just would not get it. You wouldn't. If it had
You
to be
would
their
not
moment,
understand.
you would not understand. Even if I broke it down to you, you wouldn't understand."
And
You
but the thing about it is when I think about my dad, in that moment, I think his feeling would have been like he would have been hurt because you are somebody that he loved. And to
Mhm.
see you hurt, like he could not handle that. Like to see you hurting, no, like I could see him that being his immediate emotion, but I could see him if he could slop that water up and put it together and beat it down
Beat it down.
for being
Exactly.
hot. I could see him doing that as well. I think about, when I was in college and I had my girlfriends, through my 3 girlfriends who still to this day I'm thankful to have, but they were going to come to my house for the weekend. And I was like,
You had
listen,
to give him a prep talk.
you are more than welcome at my house. I'm like,
However,
everybody is
how,
welcome at
however,
my house.
right,
But
right.
you cannot have sensitive feelings if you're coming to my house,
You gotta leave
because
outside.
people are going to joke and they are going to pick, and it may be something that you are very self-conscious of, but
Mhm.
don't take it personally. They are not like, you cannot have sensitive feelings coming to my house. And my girlfriend, she was like, oh, she was ready. She walked in that house. She came into the house,
You
and
met
we're
Boo
all
J.
sitting in the living room. And my we just keep the house really cold, and she's
Right.
covered up under the covers. And she goes in, and my dad comes home. He walks in and he's like, hey, y'all! I didn't know y'all was here. And then he was like,
Mhm.
who's that under the cover? And my girlfriend was like, hey, Mr. Sugar Cane, it's me. He was like, oh, girl, cover yourself up. Cover yourself up. And he was like, God dog it. Ashaka, I tell you about bringing ugly people home. How you ride with that person? And she was like, Mr. Sugar Cane, but I had to say to her, honey, he probably don't really believe or mean that you're
Right.
ugly, but he's going to take that opportunity to joke on
Yeah.
you. I'm like,
Yeah.
and I said it to him. I said, it's only a couple people who are free of picks. He
Mhm.
never gonna pick on the 3. Ashley, Devery, and Tam. He ain't gonna be no picking on Ashley, Devery, and Tam. And if you're gonna pick on Ashley, Devery, and Tam, you gonna get out.
Right.
But everybody,
And I mean immediately.
everybody else, you're fair game. But
Mhm.
I just like, even to this day, I still do. I laugh. I laugh about different little stories, or I'll see something and I think about it from his perspective, perspective, and I'll start laughing.
Yeah.
I'll start laughing. So, that's what I say is that, I lost my parents at a young age, but the good that came out of it, as I have great memories that are with me still today. Um, Also, it caused me to really, really increase and improve my relationship with God as well.
Yeah.
So, all things work together for good, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Now, as far as mental health goes, for those who not even just from grief, that may be struggling or in their darkest place. What advice do you have for them on the road to healing? Because as you know, in our community, mental health is kind of taboo, and then therapy is just like, oh, I don't need to talk to nobody. I'm okay. I'm just gonna, do whatever I have to do, and that's it. But what advice do you have for those who may be in that space?
The first thing I would say is that, forget what people say.
Hmm.
You need a counselor. We all need a counselor. I believe everybody need a counselor at all times.
Listen.
So that would be my first thing. But my second thing is that regardless of what you're feeling right now, you are not alone.
Hmm.
You are important. Your life, it matters. There are people who love you and care for you. And I may be a stranger that you're listening to, and it may be hard to believe that. But I would say lean into those words
Yeah.
and seek help from someone. It could be a stranger, It can be people, somebody who you're in close relationship with, but don't believe what it is that you're feeling in this moment. You know, you are important, your life is important, and there are people that love you. And I believe that there is also a God that loves you, who chose you and who knew the very things that you will walk through, but knows that you are built for it, that he has given you everything that you need in order to make it through. And not only when you make it through, but your making it through is going to help to lead other people to
Yeah.
getting through as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. I and I'm gonna tell you now, before I say this, do not act like your auntie and your mama and start crying.
You know, I
Please.
don't really have their genes so much, but okay, let's see.
So and and so in 2020, when I had my moment, and I came back, and I was just trying to merge back into some type of normal life going on. Um, I never said thank you, but let me tell you what you did for me. So when I came home, I was isolated. I didn't want to see nobody. I didn't want to talk to nobody. I didn't want nobody to come over here and talk to me. Nothing. I just wanted to be where I was and figure that out. And I was telling you, when you asked me where would I go to auntie house, I'm like, I don't want to go over there. I don't want to go because I don't want to ask. I don't want to answer questions. I don't want to talk about it, and I just did it. But you helped me merge back into some type of normal life and normal routine, trying to get back into it. Because I told you, I just feel like I don't want people to think I'm crazy. I don't want people to think, those things. And your words of encouragement is what gave me the strength to just kind of get back out there and do things. And then at my mom's funeral, at the end part, because I had held it together pretty good. It was the end that got me. Um, and when you came up and you prayed me out the door, that did something different for me. Because I'm like, Lord, I'd be still sitting in that church. Because I don't know how I was gonna get up. I didn't know. I mean, I was so busy being strong for my dad. I want to be strong for my sister. I got nieces and nephews I need to be strong for. I have two kids I need to be strong for. But you came and you prayed me all the way into that truck, and I appreciate that. But on top of that, the conversations that we have, and just being able to call and tell stories and laugh about things and even just talk about scripture and worship and books. I know it seems very minute, but for me it is everything. It has definitely kept me on the course and mentally kept me anchored, because when I lost my mom, outside of just that whole scare that I was going back into depression, anxiety had me everywhere. Like I couldn't even drive really, because anytime I saw lights or sirens or anything, I would have a whole breakdown. Like I've had to pull over because I'm crying, I can't breathe, my chest is hurting. Um, but it's your strength and how you just maneuver through life with grace and such elegance and such certainty that like it's going to be okay. It looks like this, but it's going to be okay. And just to have that to look up to, and like, you know what, and my thing is, listen, if Shaka can do it, I can do it. I'm gonna do it how Shaka, I know that Shaka would say or would do. um and not only in my personal life, but in my spiritual life, you definitely helped me as well, because I not only look up to you for my, personal life, but my spiritual life as well, because you too are once again a role model. Um, it's not saying I want to be just like you, but I admire those. I just admire it, and it's something I look forward to and something I work towards. So, with all of that, I just want to say thank you, because I don't know if you know how much you have done for me. I can't speak for other people, but for me, not just in my personal life, not just in my marriage, but my spiritual life. Just you've done a lot for me, and I want to say thank you because you have no clue on how many times I've talked to you on a bad day, and you've just helped me turn in total 180 that thing. So I appreciate that.
Mm. To God be the glory for all that He has done for sure. I just want to say two things to that, and I know that our time is wrapping up. But the first thing is, um, back when you were in that dark place in 2020, we've been talking a lot about things working together for good. I think God used that time to really address mental health
Hmm.
within our family,
Yeah.
because during that time there were members that were like, no, I think I think they probably just overreacted on this. I can't see this. I said, it allowed us to normalize
Yeah.
not being in the best place. And I can
Right.
think right now of conversations that I've had since with relatives that have been, I think those conversations were possible because of having the opportunity to watch you fight back
Yeah.
to the light and to a better place. And so all things work together for good. And
Hmm.
so though it was you that were in that moment, I do believe it allowed us, we talked about watching and learning and growing from what other people are experiencing. But I
Right.
think that time was a time that our family had an opportunity to really address. And when I say mental health, I mean it just like that, the health of your mental status.
Right.
And so I think we had an opportunity to talk about it. And you and I had that conversation about, like, I don't want anybody to think that I'm crazy. I'm like, crazy, you
Yeah.
know, to me, like crazy, like I would be appalled. Like nobody in our family would utter those words like that. Crazy is not crazy. And I
Yeah.
remember us having that conversation. It was like, no, it's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay. I believe that every one of us are one moment, one thing, one opportunity from just completely falling it all apart,
Right.
and so I think it just gave us an opportunity to kind of address those things.
Hmm.
But I remember the day of your mom's service. And let me tell you, though I hated losing her, man,
Hmm.
when I look back on those pictures and that purple and stuff we were wearing and stuff,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, it was a beautiful day. It was a
Hmm.
beautiful day. I mean, the pictures I got hundreds of pictures in
Hmm.
my album about it. But I remember sitting on that front row, and I remember feeling and being that person who felt like if I do not get up, then it won't end. It's not
Yeah.
done.
Hmm.
It's not over. And
Yeah.
just feeling like I couldn't move. And
Yeah.
so I remember seeing you and the Lord just saying, like, you go, and the only thing I can do is pray, you
Yeah.
know, because I remember being in that place where
Mm.
you have sat and you have been it for everybody. And now grief hits you like that, like, this is real. They're
Yeah.
about to wheel her out of here, and you haven't yet taken the time to really come to the moment of, "This is about to happen."
Yeah.
And I remember being that person. It was my dad who had to come and
Hmm.
get me up and say, "Let's go." And he did not pray, but he repeated scripture to me.
Hmm.
And so when I saw you, I just felt, I mean, the Lord just was like, "No, you go get her and you pray."
Yeah.
Because I mean, we need it. We
Yeah.
need it so badly.
Absolutely. It's definitely necessary. It's definitely necessary. It was, like I said, it was one of the hardest times of my life, but I'm thankful, for the strength that I was able to receive from it. Um how it has allowed me to maneuver through life, and how it has allowed me to definitely give me a different outlook on life in general. Um, I think because I think we always think we have forever with people. We don't.
We don't. We
I
don't.
brought my mom from a doctor's appointment, and my plan was to go back to her house and get the medication and all, just do our normal, and that was not the case. I didn't know that was
No.
gonna be it.
Let me tell you, when I say in every season, I can look back and see them working together for good. I remember the Sunday that I drove down to see her, and Terrell and I talking about it. I'm like, oh, we got to go see Auntie Eileen.
Mhm.
And we sat on the porch. We had such a good day. We laughed,
Mhm.
we joked, we had all of those things. And she was so surprised. She was like, oh, she was just so happy that the only reason for my trip there was to see her and to be with her. Right.
Right,
But that's what we talk about the obedience to what God tells us to do. Had I
right.
been disobedient, I would not. The last time I saw her would have been the time that I went to see her and she was in the hospital.
Yeah.
But the Lord allowed for my last memory of her on earth to be her in her natural environment, sitting
Mhm.
on the porch, laughing. We laughed, we had us granted. You end up coming over there and all of that. But my
Yeah.
main purpose, that's the only thing I did. I didn't go by anybody else's house. I didn't do any of those other things. I didn't even go by to see my sister. Nobody. No, the only reason why I'm here is to see her. And
Right.
so when I think about that, when I think about all things work together for good, I can always trace it back to say, you know, God, you have been faithful. You have
Mhm.
been faithful. And though, you know, the bad is that we lost her, the good is that we had an opportunity to love her and to
Yeah.
for her to know that she was loved.
Right.
For her to
Yeah.
know that she was loved. And
Mhm.
that's important. That's important to me. To God be the glory.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, we just have to, like you said, find the positive things and definitely consider the glass half full and not empty. Um, yeah, find the glass half full and not empty. Um, Anthony asked me a question the other day. He was like, I was just checking in on him, like, how are you doing? He was like, I'm good. And I'm just like, oh, I was like, and he said, how are you? And I said, oh, I'm good. This is via text. And he was like, okay. He was like, well, how are you, how you feel mentally? And I was just like, I'm good. He's like, you don't think you need, I was like, oh no. I said, I'm going to go to therapy because it's just what I need to do. I said, but mentally, I'm good. I'm in a good place. I'm not depressed. I'm not anything. It felt so good to say that and truly mean it. To truly mean like I'm not in a dark place. I don't even have any darkness around me. I'm in
Mm.
a good place mentally. Like, but I've worked hard to get here.
Yeah.
And I think that's my point to anybody. It takes work, but it's possible.
It's
And
definitely
this
possible, and
side
it's
of
worth
it is worth it.
Yeah, it is because I think it gives you a sense of freedom. I mean,
Mhm.
there have been times last year, I mean, heck, there was some probably 3 months ago. I don't know. I know it ain't too far ago that, with just everything that I have going on right now,
Mhm.
that there have been times that I've literally been sitting, in my car in tears, talking on the phone to Terrell and saying, I'm just not in a good place. I'm just
Mhm.
not in a good place. And for me, I need a moment, right? I need a moment to sleep, right? Right now I very seldom get just a full nights of sleep. I'm getting up a couple times throughout the night, so I need a moment to sleep, or I just need a moment to kind of be and not be necessarily responsible for
Free.
anything.
Mhm.
But I think there's freedom in being able to admit that and say that. And I get it. You can't admit it and say it to everybody, and I will tell you there'll be some people that'll be like shocked
Yeah.
that I've been that was my response, because
Mhm.
people, one, I don't have the cry gene so much, but you get me on a Sunday in church, I'm crying every time because I'm just
Just
overwhelmed by the every time I'm gonna be crying. But it's freedom in being able to just say, I'm not in a good place. I need a
Mhm,
moment to
mhm.
be able to articulate what it is that you need. And you may not know how to pinpoint exactly what it is, but
Right.
like I just need a moment, it right now. And what that moment looks like, okay, that moment could be a walk.
Mhm,
That moment can just be a good cry. That moment could be not being responsible for anything. That moment could be spending time talking to your therapist or whatever, going for, a run or exercising, whatever that is. I think there is so much freedom in just being able to admit I'm not okay
mhm.
and this is what I need. Or
Right.
I'm not okay. I don't know what I need, but I know that right now all of this is too much.
And that's okay. You can't, and once again, that's where you can't have mom guilt, dad guilt, parent guilt. I mean,
Spouse guilt,
there's
any of
days,
those
listen, I told
things.
Anthony I can't do it, brother. I'm sorry. I can't give you 80, I can't give you 50. I'm barely I probably could give you like 7 to 10%. That's it. Yeah, everything else you gonna have to fill it in. But there's times he's like has to just tell the kids, like, listen, don't call your mom for anything else. Because he can literally be sitting right here next to me. I'm occupied. He's doing a whole bunch of nothing. You know who they call? Me. Because what was the difference? What's the difference? We two are the same humans. He can probably do it quicker because he ain't doing nothing. But you call me. And I know that just comes with, the pants that we wear as moms, but it becomes a lot. It becomes a lot.
Yeah.
It becomes a lot. So it's okay to just say, you know what, I can't even. And
But
like
I
you, I
think
sit in
that's
my
the
car.
beauty too. It's like having a partner,
Yes,
that will say that, like, okay, leave your mom alone.
yeah.
You know, sometimes I'm like so exhausted and I'm like, I need to go, I need to just get a sleep, and Torella be like, listen, let her alone, leave her alone, let her alone. Like my grandma said, let her alone, let her
Right.
alone. Let us just sleep, for a moment. And I have a bell system in my house for my sister. And so sometimes it's like unplugging that bell for a couple hours. So
Mhm.
somebody else outside of the room is going to take care of
Right, right, right.
the bell. But I think it's just being able to find healthy ways to navigate when we're not okay.
Yeah.
Normalizing it in moments you may not be okay, but
Mhm.
finding healthy ways to really I don't use the term deal with it because I don't think you're dealing with it, but healthy ways to address where you currently are.
Yeah. And knowing that no is a complete sentence.
Yeah.
That's the beginning and end. I know. I know.
Yeah.
My last question of the night is scale to 1 to 10, where would you say you are mentally?
Right now in this moment, 1 to 10, I'm probably like a 7, 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think it would take to get you at a 9 or a 10?
Um, what it would take to get me to a 9 or a 10. Ooh, I think probably a good night's sleep.
Okay.
And you know what? I can tell you another thing that will probably help me get to a 9 or 10, a good night's sleep. And I'm kind of in the choke hole by my work emails. So if my work emails was down under 100 and I had a good night's sleep, I'd probably be rolling at a 10 right now. Matter of fact, I'd
Okay.
probably be like a 10.5.
Okay. I don't think that is reachable. It's
That's
a reasonable goal.
That's
It's a
reachable.
reasonable goal. Now, how you gonna do it? I have no clue, but
You
it's
know how I'm gonna
reasonable.
do it? I'm gonna likely I may do some emails tonight,
Mhm.
or when I wake up in the morning, 3, 2, 3, 4, whatever time I wake up, I'll get my computer and I will knock them out. And I use Google, and Google has the schedule send. And
Mhm.
so I'm up working at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, but I schedule all my emails to go out at 8 o'clock that
Right.
same morning.
Yeah.
So, at 8 o'clock, I'm like, maybe in my first meeting of the day, or I'm just like, rolling in or whatever. And everybody else, their email is blowing up because
What up?
all of my emails are coming in. So it's definitely reachable. I'll likely make it. I don't know. I'm sitting at about 400 emails right now, and that doesn't seem like a lot, but that's a lot of emails. That's a lot of emails and these are not like junk emails. These like
Yeah.
400 emails.
Priority.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so I don't know if I'm gonna make it to a 10,
Sound like more like a nine,
but
9.5 ish.
I'll be good with a 9.2.
Yeah, that sound about what neighborhood you gonna be in there.
I'll be somewhere around a 9.2, and I'll be pleased with a 9.2.
That's it. Sometimes we just got to make sure it's a reasonable goal. That's it.
Yes, that's
That's
my
it.
reasonable goal. My reasonable goal is to go into tomorrow morning with um I'm gonna say 200 emails.
Yeah, I make sure I text you and see what by what time you think that'll be.
If I work tonight, I will probably work for maybe an hour, hour and a half. Or my best work though, if I were to just wrap the night up tonight and get a good night's sleep, which whatever that means, I may need to get up at 2 o'clock to check on my sister or something. So if I can if I go to sleep and just wake up whenever I wake up, I'll be good. I'll knock them out.
Okay. So maybe by noon tomorrow, if I text you, you'll be down to
Oh, no, no,
no.
no. Now, if I don't get it if I don't get it into a good place before I start the day,
It's
it's
not
not
happening.
gonna happen.
Okay.
It's not gonna happen. When I'm at work, I very seldom have an opportunity to check emails and things. When
Hmm.
I'm at work, my mentality, and you're gonna have to have me back to talk about just like work,
Hmm.
dealing with work and all that. But my mentality when I'm at work, I think I say, I can take my computer home, therefore I can take my emails home, but I can't take the kids home. I can't take my
Right.
employees home. So
Right.
when I'm during the day, I'm out in schools meeting with kids. I'm out in schools, visiting classrooms. I'm meeting with stakeholders. That's what I do during the day, which my assistant, she always says to me, we need to book in time for you to just like do paperwork and just do emails and those things, and that's hard for me to do.
Hmm.
So if I don't get it done before I hit the ground in the morning, and my first meeting tomorrow, I'm trying to get my hair right, my first meeting tomorrow is at 7:30. So if I don't get it done by 7:30 a.m., that's gonna be hard. And that's something that gives me it doesn't give me anxiety, but it definitely causes me to be unsettled when I go into a new day or a new week with
Hmm.
old things that I
Right.
haven't addressed. And I'm not saying that everything has to be checked off of my to-do list, but some things are in there that haven't had the opportunity to address. If it's something that I'm like, well, I can't address right now, that's one thing, but I don't like to take old things into the new day. And that'll preach. I can give you a whole sermon on that. So I don't
Hmm.
like to take the old, like last week into this new week. I want to
Right.
try to address the things from last week before I go into this new week. I want to
Hmm.
try to address the things from yesterday or from today before I go into tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so that's a hard thing. That's a pressure going back to doing it all, that's pressure that I put on myself to try to get that done. And sometimes it's not possible, but that's what my goal is, to address all things from last week or all things from yesterday. Everything that I can address, I like to address those things and not put them off for the next day.
Whew, I'm tired. That's not even my job. Think I
Yeah.
need a nap.
I'm sitting at 400 400 strong.
Well, any last words for the listeners before you go tap into those 400 emails?
Um My last words are, in this year and in this season, wherever you are in life, prioritize yourself. Our slogan is going to be, put your oxygen mask on first. Take care of yourself first. So that you can be good for everybody else. And so identify some of those things that are self-care for you. Identify things that cause you to feel celebrated by yourself. So really put your oxygen mask on first. Take care of yourself first. And let's see how that makes for a better year.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, that is the show. I appreciate your yes. I appreciate you joining me. I have enjoyed the conversation. I have finally gotten you on the podcast. I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I have. Um, yeah, I'm just, thankful that we were able to sit down and have a conversation. Um, I'm Ashley Angelini, your favorite person on the East Coast. This is Black Bold and Beautiful, the podcast for the culture. As always, be encouraged, stay encouraged, and don't forget to encourage someone.
Good night.
Good night.